traders, Raghee here. And in this update, we're going to dive into the grains narrative because Monday, late in the afternoon, we got a report from the USDA that talked about the crop progress. Now, the knock-on effect of this is what? If the crop planting is progressing well, and more importantly, reaches a benchmark of 75% planted, there is the assumption then that the harvesting and ultimately the supply is going to be quite large. I don't want to say good or bad. I guess it depends on what side of the market you're on. But if there's any narrative that increases supply, then that's going to put pressure on price. If there's any narrative that puts a decrease in demand, that will also put pressure on price. Well, between Monday and Tuesday, we got both those narratives playing out. Very good progress on the crop planting. Soybeans reached the benchmark and beyond. Corn is going well, and therefore supply expectations are that it's going to be a good harvest this year. Simultaneously, we got news that there could be less demand for corn from China. Therefore, corn took that Monday, Tuesday move. You can see the move that we had in corn was far more bearish than the one that we saw in soybeans. Corn actually hit the 55 exponential moving average and gave us a minor low. And so this was at the major psychological of 600. And this was an aggressive oversold buy that we talked about in the room. But the more, I believe, intact uptrend remains in beans. So if you are looking for a grain narrative that's staying steadier in the wake of that news, beans, soybeans, ZS, and actually bean oil, ZL, are where you want to keep your attention. So I'm still very much a fan of playing these grocery store commodities, good old-fashioned grains, to the upside. These two, corn and beans, happen to be two of the most liquid. Bean oil is also liquid, and the bean complex will track with soybeans. Generally, you always want to confirm. And right now, bean oil is the relative outperformer. So these are back on track. I like the narrative. Again, don't underestimate the importance of these psychological levels or the 55 exponential moving average in a trend. I do want to mention that corn lost its trend before the news hit. We lost a trend in corn. Doesn't mean it's a downtrend. It just means it turned into sideways action on May the 21st. And beans also got a little sideways on May the 24th. But remember, the 24th is when that news about the crop progress was released. So beans actually have held their trend very, very well. Another nice minor low signal right there. So that's what we've got going on. And by the way, I do want to mention that minor low corresponded with a beautiful Darvas. So there's so many cues in these markets, especially when we've got these healthy trends to continue to stay bullish on the volatility with what we're seeing in the grains. Emphasis on beans, emphasis on bean oil. Don't ignore these wonderful commodities markets. I know futures tend to get sort of, pigeonholed into this whole S&P, NASDAQ day trading type approach, but it's the longer term trend follows and reflation that are really going to be oftentimes the outperformers in your trading book. Keep an eye on them. I'm pretty sure you probably are, and I think you'll be glad you did. I'll see you in the next update.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency. It's one of the things that won me